Niels, you've written that, just getting to a more positive aspect of our discussion, perhaps. You've written recently that the cause of economic freedom is growing in Canada. What made you write that?
Well, I'm pretty dire on where we are today as a country, economically speaking. I'm really optimistic in terms of where we're going, Tony, because I think what I see across the country is that the large majority of Canadians believe that what we're doing now is not working, and I think that's the first step to change. I'm not optimistic that we're going to get change in Ottawa per se with this administration, but I do believe the first step is that Canadians have sort of woken up and said, "Geez." We really got to start focusing on cost of living. We have to start focusing on jobs. We have to start focusing on the economy. And I think that's sort of the first real step. And so I'm optimistic that change will come down the line. But we have to fix our fiscal situation. We have to fix our tax situation. We have to fix the amount of red tape that gets layered on all sorts of small and medium and large businesses. And if we do that, that's really going to expand our level of economic freedom in this country. And that's the only way we're going to ensure that we have a healthy economy, that we have lots of upward mobility, and that we have increasing incomes for Canadian families. So hopefully that comes down the line. I think we'll start seeing some leadership, hopefully at the provincial level in some provinces, but we really need federal policy change in order to change that climate in Canada.
So that's an interesting observation. I just want to unpack it even a little bit more because obviously we're at a time where we went through this whole COVID situation, obviously. Do you think that was a driver for a change of attitude amongst people to value their freedom more, to demand more freedom in their economic and personal lives?
Oh, I think most certainly that has had an impact. Absolutely, I don't think there's a lot of Canadians that want to go back to what happened in 2020 and 2021. I think the evidence on those lockdowns is crystal clear in terms of health outcomes and economic outcomes and mental health outcomes. It was an absolute tragedy that really ought never to be repeated. So I think that has changed the way Canadians think. But I also think, as bad as inflation is, one of the things that inflation has done is really kind of woken Canadians up from their complacency. And it's brought sort of to the top of their minds the importance of economic policy in their well-being. And so, I think it's a combination of those two things that has kind of helped shape how Canadians think. And you saw a recent poll that a large majority of this country, 67% of Canadians, believe that Canada is broken and things need to change. And so, as negative as that is the first step to change. And so let's take that and let's start educating people about what needs to change across the country.
I want to return. You've mentioned it a couple of times, so I think we should unpack it some more. Is the world is facing this energy crisis? It's being partially driven by the war on Ukraine by Russia, and again, Canada has so much to offer in this regard. So let's talk a little bit more about that, and maybe what government policies have to change so that we can be part of the solution.
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, it's recognizing that we have a set of resources that the world desperately wants and desperately needs, and that will continue on for decades into the future, more than 50 years into the future. And where do you want, as a country, as a person, as a family, to get your resources from? Do you want to get it from a country or a jurisdiction that does things in an environmentally friendly way, in a way that respects human rights and humans' freedoms? Or do you want to get it from a country that does neither of those things? And I think all around the world, whether you're in Germany, whether you're in Japan, you want it from Canada. And unfortunately, we have a government right now federally that has said they want to shut in our natural resources. They don't want to offer it to the rest of the world. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous that we have a prime minister that has said there's no business case for natural gas in Canada. That's completely false. We really ought to be the one providing natural gas to our allies. And again, you think about what would happen environmentally if, at the margin, we reduced the amount of coal that was being used to generate electricity and replaced it with clean Canadian natural gas. And so, that obviously would be a big environmental win. It would be a big win for human rights, and it would be a big win for how Canada is viewed internationally. And so, to me, there's a real Canadian message to be had here. And unfortunately, the current government doesn't see it that way. And I'm hoping that changes because, again, look, our natural resources are 50% of our exports. They should be more. just given how in demand those resources are, and it drives a huge part of our standard of living. And it doesn't matter if you're in BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Quebec, Ontario, Atlantic Canada, we all benefit from a really healthy natural resource sector.